guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm talking about decluttering my plants. I want to talk about decluttering my plants, what plants I decluttered, why, if I decluttered a plant, do I regret it, or would I repurchase at a later date, what plants I am taking a break from, and if I would come back to them in the future, and what plants I am replacing those plants that I am taking a break from. So let's just hop right into it. Alright, so the first couple of plants that I decluttered from my collection, and this time when I decluttered, I kind of just went ham a little bit. I was Marie Kondo, but kind of mean. I just was getting rid of plants left and right. I don't know if it was just my headspace or if I was just tired of certain plants, but I just axed some plants that I was just I don't know if I was just mad at them or what, but the first couple of plants that I just axed were my alocasia, and I only had two. I had the alocasia friedec and I had the Syrian. And so as far as the alocasia, the one that I kind of regret axing was the alocasia friedec, and that's just because I really did like the plant. I liked how it looked in, with my cluster of plants that I do. But the reason why I got rid of that plant is because, and it was my fault, I will admit it was my fault, I wasn't watering it correctly, and it was under my Sansi light, so it was getting a lot of light, and it got spider mites. And when I just saw the plant decline one day, I just got so mad, and I don't know if I was mad at the plant or if I was mad at myself. I was probably just mad at myself, but I just got rid of it. And yes, I could have just cut the the plant back to the root, the stem or whatever, but I just decided that I'm just gonna take a break from alocasia. And the reason why I'm taking a break from them is because right now, since I'm reducing the amount of grow lights that I have in my home, I want to just have plants that are able to grow in my home without excessive amount of grow lights. And so since I moved my plants around, I didn't really have the space for the alocasia the way I wanted to. So I just decided that I would come back to alocasia at a later date. When I move, if I have more natural lighting, more windows, eastern windows, then I would try alocasia again. The next category is Aurelia, and it's similar to the alocasia, except for with the Aurelia, I had them kind of tucked down to where I didn't really see them when I went to, if I did water, which I really wasn't watering my plants, but I really didn't see them because they were tucked down. And because they were tucked down and under my Soltec light, they were just dropping a lot of leaves. And so I just decided that like with the alocasia, I would just revisit them at a later date when I have more natural lighting, when I have more window space and things like that. So those are the first two plants that I just axed from my collection and that I would revisit later on. But the funny thing is, I almost bought another Aurelia when I went to Pepper's greenhouse because they were really cheap and they were nice sizes. They had all different sizes, but I remembered why I got rid of my alocasia, my Aurelia in the first place, and I just decided to keep it moving. The second, the next one are certain types of Aglaonemas. And now I think with Aglaonemas, I went a little crazy with Aglaonemas, and I had bought most of them last year. I think I just bought too many. I was in this mode where I don't know if I was watching videos on alocasias or what, but I just bought too many alocasias, why do I keep saying alocasias? Aglaonemas, and now that I'm looking at them, they don't really spark joy. I look at them and I just see plant, as bad as that sounds, but I have I don't think I decluttered. Oh, Sparkling Sarah, I decluttered. I have it sitting to the side because I do plan on selling it. And with most of these plants, I'm sitting them to the side so that I can really make sure that I don't want to have these plants in my collection. That way I can see what my collection looks like without the plants. So I do have them set aside, but I do have a couple more that I'm thinking about parting with. This is the Aglaonema that I got last year that has the two different types in the plant. So I'm thinking about parting with this one as well as this one, although I really do like this one. I'm not really sure about it. This is the Aglaonema Frozen. It really is a very pretty Aglaonema, but it just hasn't really done that much. And I know Aglaonemas can be slower growers depending on how much light you give them, but yeah, probably will part with this one. And then I have the Aglaonema Platinum, which I don't see this one around a lot. And so with these plants, I'd rather someone else enjoy these plants rather than me just having them just to have them. I do have the rest of the Aglaonemas in my collection. I think I just prefer the Aglaonemas that are bigger, just because they're more established. They do well, and they do better in my care, and I just don't seem to struggle with them as much, even though the ones that I just showed you I don't really struggle with. The main one that I struggle with in that size is the Aglaonema Chocolate, but I just like the look of the bigger ones, so that's why I think I'm just gonna part with those and then keep the bigger ones. And then the next plant or genus is Anthurium. And so I got rid of all of my Anthuriums. I couldn't do it anymore. I think if you guys watch my channel, you probably saw this coming down the road. I just talked about how much the Anthuriums were making me unhappy, and I was just trying to make them happy. Some of them started to yellow, and that was I think it was a super bone, and it was my Clarinervium. And so I was like, this is the last time, I was gonna give them to the end of the growing season, but I was just like, you know what, it's no need to wait, like, you guys just have to go. The only one I have left is the Veitchii, and I don't even know how I feel about this one. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep this one or what, but if I did decide to part with this one, I would sell it. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, it's a very pretty Anthurium. It has been doing well. The one thing I would have to say is that it sits in my window, and since it's getting bigger and bigger, it's going to have to eventually come out of my window, and if I don't have a place to put it other than in that window, there won't be a need for me to keep it. So I would either have to find a place to put it or just, I don't know, but I'm trying to decrease the amount of plants that like need to be under a grow light, and so it's hard when I prioritize other plants over these plants, such as like my philodendrons, my monstera. I tend to prioritize those plants over these just because I like those a lot better. So I kind of do feel bad for some of these plants, but at the same time, I'd rather them go to someone else who can take care of them and provide them with the light. I mean, I don't declutter, and I do take this pretty seriously just because, I do care about these plants, and I do feel bad that some of them have been neglected and some of them I'm just parting with, but because I've also spent my hard-earned money on them, so I just don't want to be like, oh, I'm just going to get rid of these plants. Like, I'm not taking this lightly at all, but I'm just telling you guys like what my experience is throughout all of this and how I'm going to be purchasing plants moving forward. The next one is prayer plants. I did get rid of a good number of prayer plants. The reason why I had collected so many prayer plants was I was doing that experiment to see if I could really grow them the way I grow plants, and a lot of them did really well in my collection. There were a few that they were just a pain in behind. One of them was the Calathea rhubarba. That one it just needed so much water. It was just crazy. It crisped all up. Even when I cut it back, I just was not happy, so I ixnayed that one. Another one was the Calathea cora. That one just never, it was the same thing. It just was wanting so much water, but there were a couple calatheas that I just decided that they didn't really fit my needs. I still do have a good portion of my prayer plants, the ones that really just were like rock stars throughout this whole period, and the ones that I would definitely keep around. And I think the only other one that I would think about selling or parting with is this one. I don't really know how I feel about this one. This one is the dark version. This is the Calathea fasciata, the dark version of the orbifolia. And sometimes I really like this plant and other times I don't. And so this is what it looks like. It did pretty good throughout the whole time of not watering. I still do need to change the medium because I don't like the medium of this plant. And that's also why it dries out pretty quickly. But yeah, this one's not doing too bad. And it's actually putting out a lot of leaves. So that's what that one looks like. Moving on to ferns. I think I parted with 2 ferns. One was my asparagus fern, which, oh my gosh, that is a fern that I deeply regret parting with, but it was just, I don't know, at one point I was watering that fern every day, and I think it's because it was in too small of a pot, but I was trying to keep it in a small pot so that it didn't really get any bigger, because if you saw my last couple of videos, that fern was just like taking over, and without me like chopping it all the way back, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And so I thought by keeping it in a smaller pot that I could keep it smaller, but all it did was just make the plant thirstier. But I do definitely want another asparagus fern. If I got another asparagus fern, I would put it in a kokedama. I would like that a lot better. I also want to do that with this fern, my Ming fern. I think that would be cool. But I got a part with that fern, and then the other one was my hurricane fern, the one that's kind of like in the shape of a hurricane, obviously. But that one, I don't know, I think I should have put that one in a bigger pot too. I also didn't like that plant after a while, but definitely if I had to buy the fern again, I would definitely buy my asparagus fern. For ficus, I didn't part with any of my ficus, although I almost did, because my ficus altissima just dropped all of its leaves. Like, I was just like, one day it was fine, and then the next day, like, it was like fall in here. Like, it dropped all the leaves except for, I think there's like 2 or 3 on each stem, and I was just like, I was so mad. I almost put that plant in the trash. But the weird thing is the same thing happened to my mom's plant, and so I was talking to her about it, and her leaves are growing back, and she just told me I should just give the plant a chance and that it would grow and look like a nice pretty tree. So I thought about it, and I just left it alone. Lo and behold, it is growing its leaves back, and so for now it looks kind of stupid, but it will look a lot better in the future. And I think it'll be the only ficus that'll actually look like a tree, which I guess it would be cool, but I was just so mad in the moment. It almost went out. The next one I was thinking about decluttering was the ficus Audrey. I haven't really decided if I'm going to part with this plant, just because I really liked it when I first got it, but now I just don't know, like, when I look at it, it just doesn't it just doesn't give me that feeling. But I think I'm just going to hold on to it at least until after the growing season to see how I feel about it. And then if not, I will part with that one as well. One that I have been thinking about parting with is the ficus burgundy, just because it's just burgundy. I mean, I know someone would be like, oh, burgundy is beautiful, but it just, I don't know. It's just burgundy. I don't have anything else to say about that one, but yeah. The next one we'll talk about is peace lily, and the only peace lily I was thinking about parting with is the, I I had it in my head. I think it's called the Peace Lily Platinum. And I did not have any intentions of buying that plant. I think the only reason why I bought that plant is because I watched Plantarina's video when she talked about Peace Lily Care in her collection. And this is why I try to decrease my consumption of YouTube, because when I see something that someone else has, I just like feel the need to buy that plant, even if I don't really want that plant deep down, which I know that some people won't make any sense. To other people it will make perfect sense. But now that I'm looking at the plant, I'm just like me and you don't have that connection. We're not vibing. And so if I do part with that one, I'm just gonna sell that one to someone who actually wants to enjoy that plant. It's not dying. It doesn't look bad. It's just we don't have that connection. So that's all I'm gonna say about the peace lilies. I like my other two, and yeah. For philodendrons, what did I parted with my Adibapoense. That plant just got too big. My philodendron Plymanii. Some of you guys were asking an update about the Plymanii. It actually started to grow back after I made those cuts. And the leaves were like this big, they were growing back. But yeah, for some reason I just didn't have enough patience for mine. I think I was struggling with mine for like 2 years. This is why this year I'm like really thinking about my plant purchases, because I just don't want to be like this cutthroat moving forward. But I think those were the only two philodendrons. One philodendron that's not really classified as a philodendron is the Dermatophyllum. I think it's Sprucianum or Goldii. You know what I'm talking about. I think I'm going to part with that one, and I almost parted with it before, but I think I'm going to do it now. And I just wanted to think about it a little bit longer, but I think that one is going to have to go too. Just because I don't really feel anything for that plant. And that was the same time that I had purchased this plant, and I wasn't really, needing to buy plants. I was just at the nursery and I was like, ooh, that looks interesting. Or ooh, like people are looking at this plant, so I picked it up. It was dumb. I should have saved my money. As far as Monstera, I didn't part with any Monsteras. I was thinking about parting with my Monstera Stanleyana variegata. I still haven't really made the decision about that one. And then I have my Monstera Peru. The only reason why I was thinking about parting with that one is because it hasn't really grown for me, but that's because I haven't been giving it enough light. But when I put it out for the summer, it'll pick back up, so I'm not really worried about that one. And the same for my Tetrasperma. But those three, I think I'm going to hold on to for a little bit longer. We'll talk about snake plants. I think I only parted with one snake plant. It was my snake plant Fernwood, and it was just spiky. It was just spiky, and most of the time I forgot about it because I had it sitting on my kitchen island. But yeah, I think that was the only snake plant that I parted with. If I had to part with more due to a move, I would get rid of my bigger ones. But other than that, I think I kept all of my snake plants. And, Scindapsus. I straight massacred my Scindapsus. And the first one was not my fault. Well, it was kind of my fault. It wasn't my fault. The first one I got from the garden center that I was working with over the summer, and I knew that plant. I thought it was the only one that didn't have mealybugs, but of course when I got home, it was fine. And then after a while, I started seeing these mealybugs, and it was on that and another plant, and so I put them outside. Because you know how I feel about bugs. Some bugs, I'm just like, you're gonna go outside. So I put the plant outside, and I had just like forgot about it, and it perished. It just like froze over. So that's what happened with that one. And the other ones, I had them like lined up on my windowsill, and for some reason, even though a lot of people say that Scindapsus are lower light plants, they don't like my northeast windows. They don't really grow that well. The only one that grew really well was the silver lady, and that's because it was in my northwest window. But the other ones were in my northeast window, and they just didn't really grow well, which makes no sense because I have a Hoya in there, and Hoyas like bright lights, and those grow well in my room and even with this window. So I'm not really sure why the Syndapsis don't grow well in my northeast window, but they were all on my windowsill behind the curtains. I would not even, most days I wouldn't even open the curtains. And so you could just imagine that I just like neglected all of those Syndapsis, and it was just like a massacre. I feel so bad about what happened to my Syndapsis. Of course, because I really do love Syndapsis, and I spent quite a bit of money on them. But I just could not believe that I did that. So they did die due to neglect. Well, I think 2 or 3 of them were fine, but they just, by the time I had gotten to them, I couldn't really, save them the way I wanted to. So yeah, that's what happened with my Syndapsis. Of course, I would revisit Syndapsis later on, but if I did, I would not try to rebuild my Syndapsis collection. I really fell down a rabbit hole when it came to Syndapsis. I was trying to collect, like, not all of them, but I was trying to collect a good majority of them, and that just set me down a path that I don't want to go back down. And that also made me realize that I do have a tendency that once I get, find a plant, that I kind of go crazy. But yeah, the Syndapsis I really feel bad about. If I did repurchase Syndapsis, I would just get the Exotica because that one's my favorite. I love the big leaves on that one. And so if I did repurchase at a later time, I don't know if I need to have eastern windows or what, but I would like to have a nice hanging version of the Syndapsis. So I would get the Exotica. I was thinking about trying it again, but I think I just need to take a break from Syndapsis. I had an extensive collection before, but that was because I kept them like under my Sandy light. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that and see where I went wrong with that one. But yeah, that's what happened with my Syndapsis. And so those are all the plants that I went through and decluttered. I do have a significantly smaller collection than what I did before. And the plants that I have now, I'm pretty happy with. They are the ones that did the best during my neglect period. They seem to really stay true to me and have my back and didn't really get mad at me like I thought they would. And actually some of them look really good for the amount of neglect that I gave them. So I'm really grateful to the plants that stuck with me, and then the ones that give me joy. 2 genus that I want to replace in my collection are Hoya and Codex plants. And I think it's just I'm moving more towards more succulent plants, more plants that don't have to be watered as much, and plants that also will grow in my environment, whether it's like in the window or they will grow well outside. And so the first one, and I think I talked about this before, I am moving more towards Hoya because there aren't a lot of plants that I can actually grow in my room without the addition of grow lights. And so I've had the Hoya lineares in my room for a good period of time, for a year. And I've also had my compactus in these windows. So I definitely know that Hoyas grow well in my home without any additional lighting. And so that's what I want to move towards, especially in my bedroom, or just Hoyas. And I plan to hang them up in my bedroom. I think that will add like a nice feminine touch. Don't tell my boyfriend, but that's what I'm going for. But I'm going to hang them up in my room. I've also got better at watering my hanging plants. If you guys watched my videos before, all the hanging plants that I had did not do well in my collection, but I have been doing so well with my hanging plants. So I plan to hang a couple Hoyas in my room. And actually I just ordered my last Hoya the other day, so I will have I probably do like a 2-part haul. I kind of did order a lot, but not really. It's just the way they were delivered. One bunch came in, on one date, and the other bunch is coming like Thursday. And so I probably have to do a 2-part haul so I can show you what Hoyas that I got. And then the next one are the Codex plants, and I just like the way they look and they grow. I'm also gonna have them in my windowsill. Now, I ordered these plants from Etsy. The seller was amazing. He was nice. They got shipped really quickly. They are sitting in New Jersey at the Kearney post office. They have been sitting there since the 19th. I don't know when they're gonna start moving again, but technically I could have had these plants already. I wasn't sweating it before because the guy said to wait till warmer weather to start to get them to sprout. But since it's getting warmer, I want my plants. I want to see like where I can place them. But they are stuck in New Jersey, so I'm not really sure when I'm gonna get these Codex plants. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to have them like reshipped, refunded. So you'll have to stay tuned for these. But the Hoyas and the Codex plants were the plants that I was going to keep in my room, and then all the other plants I plan to keep out here. And I also plan to put the plants outside, but who knows when the Codex plants will get here. But I had this whole like vision in my head, and yeah, we'll see. But New Jersey post office, and apparently this post office is like the worst post office, but well, let's hope that they come. But yeah, so I think that's all of the plants that I wanted to talk about. Of course I dropped my pen. I think that's all of the plants that I wanted to talk about. There aren't any other plants that I plan to add to my collection at this time. Like I said, I just ordered the last plant that I want for this year. I think it was last night or the night before. And so I'm done ordering plants and buying plants for the year. I wanted to buy my plants early so that way I could enjoy them throughout the growing season and really get to know the plants. And so yeah, I also wanted to keep my purchases lower. I figured if I ordered my plants now, then I could just cut myself off. If I stick to the plants that I ordered, this would be the lowest amount of plants that I've purchased in a couple of years, which would be amazing and would be quite the feat. So if I actually stick to this, then I would definitely be proud of myself. But yeah, this would be the lowest amount of plants that I've ever purchased in 1 year if I can stick to this. So we will see. I have high hopes that I will be able to stick to this. And yeah, so I just want to thank you guys so much. If you guys have decluttered any plants this year, comment them below. If you had any of the plants that I talked about this year, let me know. But yeah, so I just want to thank you guys so much for liking my videos, watching my videos, liking, and see, he's making noise because he wanted to play with his toy when I started recording, and I told him no. So he gave me lip and ran to his crate. So that's where that's coming from. But anyway, thank you for watching my videos, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.